Welcome to Mobile Armor Radio, the podcast for all things Mecha. Jumpship incoming.
Hello everyone, welcome to another amazing episode of Mobile Armor Radio. I am one of your hosts, Brian.
I'm Chopper.
And I'm Rob.
Yeah, and this is episode 51.
51.
Or whatever season episode breakdown that is.
Have we finally won? It's broken down, this?
I don't know. But definitely the show is continuing on and forward into all sorts of exciting stuff because you guys got to go to Gen Con. So we are going to be talking a lot more about that here in the next few segments.
Yes.
Yes.
I was giving you a chance to do the break.
Oh, that's what's happening? It was so quick, I couldn't tell.
I went longer than I usually do, guys. I'm trying.
Oh, that's all you can do.
Dropship landing.
And welcome to the Dropship. This is the part of the show where we talk about all the things that we're working on for gunpla kits or other minis and so on and so forth. So I'm going to throw it over to Pat. You go first. What have you been working on?
Really just the same old stuff I've always been working on. Still working on the Neo Zhong. I'm really kind of buckling down a little bit on that. And Rob has seen my progress, and he's seen how giant this thing is.
Yeah, I've seen it in person, and the thing is huge.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot of paint to paint this thing up.
It's not the size of a small child. It's the size of a large child.
Oh, geez.
So it's coming along, but it's a lot slower than I expected. I'm still painting up the Scorpion mech. I want to get that up done too, so I can get some pictures up. The Scorpion mech that we got from our longtime listener, John Bear Ross.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just started printing up one of his tanks to go into battle against the Scorpion mech.
Nice.
I have grand delusions now that my wife has been nominated for a scenic design award.
Yeah.
Now I want to make me something.
Congratulations to her, by the way.
to prove that I'm not as good as she is.
That's right. She's award winning, and you're nothing.
I am nothing. I'm just across the room recognized.
The trophy husband.
Yeah, you're the trophy husband. That's right.
Still painting up my ignition core. I really want to get to those mechs, but if I don't paint up these troopers up first, then I know I will bog down at the trooper part like I have been now.
It's using the mech as a reward at the end of the troopers?
Yes, if I can get the troopers done, then I get to eat to the plate of the giant mechs.
Very nice.
Anything else mech related I'm working on? I got some stuff from Iron One Metals at Gen Con. We'll talk about that in the next thing, but I did not put them together. These things are ginormous. I didn't think they were that big.
Yeah.
No,
We'll get to it.
A non-related load, I built a hand solo blaster. That's about it.
Nice.
Well, there's AT-ATs in Star Wars, so it's related.
Sure.
Yeah, that counts.
It's a full-size replica of Han Solo's blaster.
Just in case.
Yeah. Just in case. Functioning too, just in case.
Just in case. But that's all I got. Not a whole... stuff done, but nothing new.
And nothing finished. Just in
Just
process.
started.
Just continuing to plod along.
How about you, Rob? What do you got been working on?
Once again, at Gen Con, I did pick up tons of aerospace ships from Iron Wind Metal for Battletech and aerospace, but mostly for Battletech. But I didn't really have any aerospace stuff. I have a few, but not very many. So I was like, that's it. I'm going to buy tons. So I bought a ton of those guys.
Did you really buy a ton?
A literal ton. They're metal too, right?
Yeah, they are metal, so it's close to a ton. But
you did a trade, right?
Yeah, we did trade and use some cash too because there's a lot of them. But they are I put them all together. Mostly they're one piece, except for you have to add like little wings and stuff, winglets and weapons and stuff. But other than that,
well, the good thing is now we know what the size scale is.
Yeah, that's a good thing for them to see how big they are, because it is always hard to tell how big aerospace should be. And for the flight stands, some of them I magnetized, some I just did holes for like ports. Mattering how thin some had really thin posts, so I just drilled a hole and stuck them on. But for the bigger posts, I did magnets so that I would just break them off. So I did that. I also got a bunch of Vanguard ships. It's not mech related at all, but not Vanguard. I always say Vanguard. Armada ships from Mantic, and I magnetized all the masts in those too, just so I wouldn't break them off. So I wasn't a magnetizing thing there.
It seems like it.
Other than that, I'm starting to print up a tank mech called the M3 Lee. It's based on the U.S. American tank, but it's a mech. And from Extra Guy Patreon, it's very cool. It's very cool indeed. And this Extra Guy, he's doing next month. He's doing Votoms. So he's doing he's doing the good guys and the bad guys, and maybe some Dougram models too. So he does a lot of mechs already and a lot of cyberpunk kind of stuff for his Patreon. It's STLs for 3D printing, if I didn't make that clear. And next month he's doing some Votoms, so I'm going to be definitely making some Votom minis to use in my Votom game, which isn't a real thing yet, but maybe one day.
One day.
So so I can't wait for that. And other than that, I think I've probably done other stuff, but I don't remember it, so it doesn't count, I guess.
You guys were really busy, so.
Yeah, it was, and just getting back from just catching up on like all the regular stuff, I really haven't had time to do anything. So, catching up, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So, how about you, Brian? What you got?
I've been, in preparation, we got the Michigan GT coming up here at the end of September. And so I've been painting up mostly terrain for that, getting some Dead Zone terrain painted up. A lot of that's 3D printed from the Corvus Starport, or Tycho Starport from the Corvus Gaming Terrain 3D files. Nice stuff. Like it's, solid walls and everything like that. You just throw the roof on top. So I've been working on that. I have a full table of just that terrain now. So it'll be nice to use that as my kind of transport terrain because it's nice and sturdy. I don't have to worry about it falling apart as much. But then I also did, I think this was like right at the beginning of the month, is the Chibi Tech guy had released that gaming bundle that I think I mentioned in the last episode. And so I got myself a copy of that with the files that came with that, which is basically a handful of like torsos, a handful of arms, and a handful of legs, and then everything that you kind of need to play the little game that he's kind of developed along with it. Mm-hmm. And so I printed out a set of two mechs basically to start with, two sets of legs, two torsos, and two different types of arm loadouts. So one's like a shield and a gun with a hand, and then another one is basically basically gun pods for arms. So they're really neat models, and they actually it does come with FDM friendly versions that are kind of like sliced in half already, so you can print it up and it'll basically print the guns in half, and you basically just have to glue them together. Oh yeah. And so that was really nice. I don't know if I'm going to magnetize these first ones. They have slots, like pre-made slots where you could put a magnet. But because they're FTM and it was kind of the first pass, I might see about just doing, I might just glue the limbs into it. But it's definitely like, especially at the beginning of the month, that was my jam, and where my mind was at was like that armored core. I'm going to swap out arms and legs and stuff like that, and make a really custom mech. And I love the idea that he's got worked into his game, where you essentially have like a card of the piece that you've got, and that's kind of how you assemble your mech. So it's neat. I haven't had a chance to play it yet, but I'm definitely going to be building a few more of these mechs as it goes. But that was kind of what I've been working on. One day I'll paint them up too, I guess. I've been thinking of just really, really bright, solid kind of primary colors for them, just to really change up my usual painting things, just to try something different.
Yeah.
And I think it'll be fun, a fun little exercise. So, but yeah, so that's kind of what I've been working on. And I think with that, we can move on over to ComStar.
Sounds good.
Yes.
Message from ComStar.
I'm Brian.
And I'm Rick.
From Dead Zone the Podcast.
And you're listening to
Mobile Armor Radio.
And welcome to ComStar. This is the section of the show where we talk about TVs, movies, books, comics, video games, and RPGs, all sorts of things under the sun, mech related, that we've been partaking in. And so to start this round off, I'm going to throw it back over to Rob.
Before I went to Gen Con, my Pacific Rim Omnibus came in, so I got that's in. Had a lot of cool stuff like pins and metallic posters and stuff. Yeah, but that's the omnibus, the comic book omnibus for all the different mini-series from Pacific Rim, so that's cool. I got that. But then we went to Gen Con, so it was a lot of buying at Gen Con. Not as much as usual, I don't think, but I still came home with a full suitcase, so I don't know.
Yeah, we're pretty reserved.
I still had a ton of stuff. I did get the Alpha Strike box set for Battletech from Catalyst. It sold out in 2 hours, I think, but I was lucky enough to get in there and grab one. And,
yeah, I heard it was quick.
Yeah, it was busy. It's coming out in, I think, November or maybe October for everyone else, but they always have stuff at Gen Con, exclusive stuff. It's pretty cool. It's got a lot. It's basic rules. You need. It's just the mech combat. If you want to play the full game, you need the Commander's Edition, but it's pretty cool. Everybody was like raving about the terrain, but it's just cardboard terrain. It's like in the days of STLs and cardboard terrain. Come on.
Yeah.
And
oh my gosh, it's so different than everything else out there right now.
Yeah, but
to go back to cardboard.
I think it was Battletech's not known for adding terrain, so I think it's for those kind of people that just play Battletech. It's like, ooh, terrain, but
gotcha.
Play other games because there's tons of terrain up there.
Right.
Also, Pat and I were just checking things out. Happened to walk by the FASA booth, and Pat's like, "Oh, I want to check out the Interceptor because I packed it." So we went and looked at the minis. And the lady's like, "Oh, come over here." And Pat's like, "Okay." I'm telling Pat's story for him. And she's like, "Oh, what's your name?" And he gives it.
Oh, he goes, "Come look at the big boxes." And I was like, "Yeah, all right, yeah." And as I walked over, they go, "Oh yeah, I kickstarted this." And they're like, "Oh yeah, what's your name?" And I told them my name. They looked something up, and then they went, "Hold your hand out." I went, "Okay." And they just started lowering my hand with my pledge. They're like, "There you go. I'm going to mark you down to the ship." They go, well, I was like, "Excuse me?"
Yeah, we didn't expect this at all. We were just like, what?
Yeah, they're like, "Well, here's your Kickstarter. You are able to pick it up at Gen Con." I'm like, "I did not know that." All right. Thanks a lot.
So
Nice, that worked
I
out.
also, Pat got one for me too, so I also have Interceptor. And we played a little short game of it. We played a couple of games. I think the first time we did 1-on-1, right? And then the second time we did 2-on-2.
Yeah, we did 1-on-1, and it wasn't as fun. Because it's just really about trying to get position with one ship. It's much better, this version of this game, with at least two ships.
Yeah, because then you can set guys up, and it was fun.
Right.
And we
always
also
got to have a wingman.
Yeah, in the first game, it was figuring out the everything else it's very Dead Zone like. Actually, it's dice pools and stuff. But then the movement's really odd. There's like what would you call it? A template, Pat?
Yeah, it's like a giant template.
And it tells you what dice you need to do certain maneuvers, and Once you got your head around that, it was a lot faster. And by the second game, we were just flying through like we were going so well. But Pat kept on pushing the limit and ended up really killing himself, really. But his ship was floating dead in that space.
I flamed out, then I passed out.
Yeah, so I just skated up there with my last ship and destroyed him. So it was
I flamed out, I passed out, and then I was out of I forget what they call it.
Yeah.
But I was basically out of control and just spinning.
Yeah, so I blasted him out of the air at the end. But it was fun. It was a very fun game. And I think with a bunch of ships, because I think they give you 2 mats in there? So I think you could do quite a few big board.
Yeah, you could do a big board.
It is hex-based, so it's... Yeah. It's
so you could use a dreadball mat.
Yeah. But it's not based on the old Interceptor. This is brand new. It's just using the name, not even the IP, because the old Interceptor was part of the Renegade Legion. It's nothing to do with that. It's just they're using the name, and I don't know how close. I never played the old Interceptor, but I don't know how close the rules are. But I don't think it's too close.
It's been a while. I'd have to go downstairs and get the old box out and look at the rules again, because it's been a while since I played it. But I will say, in this new set of rules, if you get all 3 of those things, like what happened to me, it's pretty deadly, because you can only remove one of those conditions every turn. Yeah.
So that was the problem. I think you regain consciousness, but you were still spinning out of control. But you also purposely went like extreme, tried to do extreme maneuver to get behind me. So
I was trying to put the end of the game.
But yeah, it's neat. It's matter of which angle you shoot at. It's different modifiers. Plus, there's no hit points in the game. It's where you hit kind of determines what happens to them. So you can get a lucky shot and kill a guy one shot, but you can also just like I kept hitting your guys and doing hardly anything to you because I was just hitting your armor or whatever. But it's
but you were whittling down the ship's stats.
Yeah, that's as you go. You kind of they have like. You can damage certain stats to the ship or different weapons and stuff. It's really fun. I like how it's really used the damage mod, like how you damage ships. And like I say, it's like a dice pool, like Dead Zone. So it was pretty easy that way too. So it's fun.
Nice.
Also from trades at Gen Con, we got both me and you got the Attack of the Kaiju game from Wildfire Games. I haven't had really a chance to look at it. It's kaiju on kaiju fighting, I guess. But I think it has cardboard standees in it. I looked at the like setup they had there, and it looks pretty cool. And it's all black and white art with like just splashes of color here and there. It's pretty cool design. So have to check that game out at some point. As I said, I got tons of aerospace ships from Ironwind. We just talked about that already. I also saw the giant Irby mech that was from Catalyst Games. You could tell Catalyst Games, they always have a pretty good sized booth, but they
put a lot of money in the Gen Con this year.
Yeah, there was a full size Urban mech in the outside of the main doors outside, and it was impressive.
Like an inflatable one.
Yeah, right? It was inflatable. Yeah, it wasn't operational. It was just inflatable, but it was pretty cool. Like there were so many people taking pictures of it, and like. I'm sure a lot of them didn't even know what it's from, but it was impressive. I was like, wow, Catalyst. You could tell Catalyst stepped it up this year and probably made a lot more money this year after their successful Kickstarters and all the GW people flocking to Battletech now. You could tell they're almost in a different level than they were last year, so it was pretty impressive.
Nice.
Even FASA last year had like a teeny little booth, and they had a pretty good sized booth. And who was the other one that I was? What is it? Who makes Cyberpunk?
Artalosorian.
Yeah, Artalosorian Games. Last year they had like a table. This year they had a huge booth, and it's like you can tell which games caught the zeitgeist a bit with Cyberpunk obviously becoming huge, and Battletech. Battletech had Catalyst had like 3 or 4 different booths just because they're also promoting their Kickstarter for their I guess it would be steampunky flying battleship game.
I've been seeing ads for that.
Yeah. I checked out the rules for that. It looked very crunchy, and I'm like, I'm not into crunchy rules, so I was not interested.
We'll have to play the original version, see how crunchy it is.
Yeah, maybe it's a little better. I'm sure it's based off the original rules, because it's the same designers, so. I think that's it for my Gen Con haul. Other than that, I didn't do anything else, I don't think. Oh, there is a comic book called a while back I talked about the Marvel mech comic book where they took Marvel heroes and put them in mechs. Now DC has done the same thing, which is super odd. So both companies have like their heroes in mechs now, like as just like a Elseworlds kind of other world story. But it's just odd that both of them are like, obviously they were probably both in production at the same time. I would think there's no way they could have gotten them out that fast. So
right.
That's just showing how much like Mecha is into mainstream geekdom. Like if DC and Marvel both have their own mech comic books right now, so yeah, it's pretty interesting. But DC mech, it's not as, I don't think it's as fun as the Marvel one. It's a little bit more serious, which is odd, but it's still giant mechs fighting each other. Batman's a real dick in it.
Well, when is he not?
Well, they're kind of younger too. They almost seem like teen heroes, so it's almost like the trope of teen pilots, because he's kind of a hothead, and then there's
well, he's halfway to becoming a mech pilot himself because his parents are dead.
Yeah, that's right. It works out, but yeah, and Kal-El shows up. This is the first time he comes to Earth, and he's in a mech that's kind of more advanced, and they're fighting at first, but then the parademons from Darkseid are in giant mechs also, and Darkseid sends his troops in giant mechs. And
Darkseid's got mechs. That's crazy.
Because that's where it kind of starts. Darkseid, one parademon shows up in like the 50s and like destroys the JSA and kills most of them. So the surviving members decide to create their own mechs to fight them. Yeah, to fight just in case the parademons show back up. And then they show back up. So it's interesting.
It's like Pacific Rim.
Sort of, yeah. It's got like elements from everything because you can see that where their influences are, and it's like every robot has a little different influence from different things. It's kind of fun. Anyways, yeah, I don't think I've done anything other than that. I think that is it. So I will throw it to Brian. What have you done, Brian?
Well, for the most part, I did manage to track down, like I said at the beginning of the month, I was very much into like an Armored Core kind of mindset. So I have my copy of Armored Core 3 with me, but I don't have my PlayStation 2 with me. And that game is not backwards compatible. So I did manage, however, to track down a copy of Armored Core 4, which was on like the PS3, 360 era, and I've been playing through that. So it's from the guys from Software, which are the same guys behind Dead Souls and is it Demon Souls, Dark Souls? I said Dead Souls, didn't I? That's probably something else.
Different game.
Elden Ring. I know.
So is this game really just want to murder you at every 2 seconds?
I mean, apparently Armored Core kind of had a history of that. But this one, like, it's been kind of interesting. It's different from like the earlier Armored Cores, because I remember those being more like you kind of had a greater feel for like these different companies or corporations that all are kind of and governments that are all vying for power and whatnot, and you were a bit more mercenary in those earlier games where you could like kind of pick who you were siding with to a certain extent.
Oh yeah.
This one has been much more like straightforward, where it's a very linear thing. You have options to like select different missions and whatnot.
But you're stuck with the same faction, kind of.
Yeah, and I won't lie, like the story beats kind of only happen at the beginning of like a chapter, which a chapter then kind of contains like 5 or 6 missions, and then like a story beat at the end of it, and like in between the missions, like I always feel like I don't really know what's going on from a story point. Like, why am I here? Who am I fighting? To put in perspective, like the missions are done in like under 60 seconds in some cases. Like they're really quick games. And so you spend more of your time just like customizing your mech and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But so I can see like it was kind of reviewed in the middle of the road, and I can kind of see why. It just kind of lacks that extra context that really kind of hits home. Like, for instance, like the missions themselves, you don't get a description of like what the conflict is before you select the mission, and then it's like throwing you in, like it gives you the objectives and it's like, and go. There's no like, what are the, read out of the objectives before you get to that point. So it's just like, it's little things like that I think could have made it a much stronger game. But I've been otherwise enjoying it mechanically. It plays very, very well. It's a very fast-paced game. I've got a loadout that I've got basically a rifle combined with a shoulder-mounted missile launcher and a minigun, and I've been doing pretty well with that combo so far. So, and then and some other things, I've actually been playing Halo with my brother, my younger brother, who's a big Halo fan.
The first Halo?
Well, I played through that one myself, but we played through Halo 2 and ODST. Recently. We're actually going to be starting up on Halo 3. So we're kind of going through the entire franchise, as it were. And so that's been a lot of fun. There's been, there's a handful of mechs in the Halo universe. It's more kind of like power armor, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
But
that counts.
Yeah, there's the giant scarab robot thing that you fight and sometimes fight with. Mm-hmm. And it really did kind of get me back into like really immersing myself in the lore. So of course I ordered 5 of the books that I didn't have yet already. So I'm going to be digging into that. And then in the meantime, while I was waiting for those books to arrive, I decided to finally pick up where I left off in Gundam: The Origin manga series.
I dropped off that too.
I was on, I think, volume 5.
I think it was on 3, yeah.
When Char and Garma are going to school, to the academy together and everything. So I picked up where I left off on that, and I got all the way through, I'm trying to remember, like, is it because it's the Battle of Loom, and then I think they cut back to the present day. And so the white bases, the Matilda and Ryu scene is where I left off in the kind of the present day. So it was basically like three volumes of this thing. And once again, if you're not familiar, Gundam: The Origin, the manga collection, is just gorgeously drawn, for one thing, and it's a nice quality paper, like, and it's a retelling of kind of the original Gundam story, but with a lot more context put into the Char side of things, and where how Zeon rose to power and everything like that. Like, you see them gassing the colony that they ultimately drop on Australia, and like that whole sequence of events. It's been really good. And so now I have to see about tracking down the next, I think there's 5 more volumes left. Actually, I think it goes up to like 12 or 13. And that takes you all the way through the end of that original Gundam story. But if you haven't seen that yet, and I know they animated a lot of that, and I need to catch up, I think, on the last movie or so. But yeah, if you haven't seen that yet and you like Gundam, definitely get your hands on that.
Yeah, they have all the trades out there. They're not too expensive either, I don't think.
No, they really weren't. And like the quality, like, it's hardcover books. Like I said, the pages are nice. They're glossy and thick, so they're less likely to get damaged. And I mean, it's beautiful art. It's also that goofy, like, character faces and stuff are very, very cartoonish, which you don't get. It's an art style you just don't see
Yeah, it's
anymore.
much more manga than it was. Yeah, then you get the aesthetic.
And it is
anime.
If I remember correctly, it is Yas. Like it's the original guy doing all of the artwork on it and stuff.
Oh wow.
There's even a section they do a lot of like talking to other artists in the industry and interviews and stuff at the end of the books. And one of them mentioned like this guy talking to Yas, who's basically his childhood hero, and he's like, yeah, I don't draw like faces with the guides where you have like the big plus sign through people's faces. He's like, I just draw faces. I don't use guides or anything like that at all. And he's just like, you are a god. It's good. It's got a lot of good moments in it. So anyway, that's enough rambling from me. Pat, did you have anything you wanted to add to the ComStar?
Oh, he's got so much more Gen Con stuff. That was only an interlude for Gen Con.
Yeah, or would you like to move on into the MechBay? Because I know we kind of set that up as our big Gen Con discussion along with a little extra. Was there anything you wanted to add to the ComStar, or did you want to kind of roll us into the MechBay Hanger and talk a lot more about it?
Because my ComStar is pretty much Rob's ComStar.
Okay.
Yeah, we did pretty similar stuff.
Sounds good. All right, so with that, we're going to move on to the next segment and talk about Gen Con.
Now entering the MechBay Hanger.
Yeah, so welcome to the MechBay Hanger. This is our kind of roundtable topic for the month. And so obviously you two guys got to go to Gen Con,
Yes.
and which is a huge convention to say the least. And so wanted to give you guys a chance to talk a little bit about going to it, but then also as we continue the discussion, wanted to see if you guys could kind of touch on what do you look for as far as Mecha goes at a convention. Like what makes a really good showing of Mecha, either board games or media or what have you. What do you look for when you go to a convention and you're looking for Mecha?
Before we get started, have you been? I know you've been to Gen Con to help, but have you actually been to the convention itself?
Just the one time that I ran the Kings of War RPG.
Oh, that's right. And that was off site.
Yeah, and that was off site.
Was it?
All right.
Yeah.
Yes, because although most of the RPGs are held in hotels outside.
I had to haul a bunch of stuff like a block every day.
I don't remember that.
Or a couple of blocks.
Oh, you did, though. That's right, because you shared the room with us that year.
Yeah.
That's right. He sunk into his bed and disappeared. And we thought he was
sunk into the end zone.
The air mattress just deflated around me. But yeah, so I haven't really gotten the Gen Con experience myself.
Yeah, me neither. I've only ever gone to help Mantic. I've never gone as a participant. So take this as that, because most of our experiences are from Pat. You went back in the day, right?
I've done both.
Yeah, but you haven't. You've been
both.
For at least 10 years. You've been doing Mantic, so it's been quite a while since you've been.
Last year I've been an exhibitor, not a participant.
Yeah, so take it with a grain of salt. Our experiences at Gen Con, but
yeah.
It just means they get to go into all this stuff early and snag all the great deals before everyone else.
Pretty much, yeah.
That too.
That's a bonus for it, yeah.
I will say, though, since we're talking about this year was a good year for Mecha.
Yeah.
Because Catalyst really stepped up their game.
Oh, it was ridiculous, yeah.
They put that giant Irby balloon out in the event hall where they were running their events. They had a full-size Elemental cardboard standee.
Yeah, that was cool, too, yeah. That's right. I forgot about that. Yeah, she was. It was pretty amazing to see how big an elemental would be in real life, and it had a cutaway so you could see inside. It was really good art.
That's neat.
Actually, I think I followed the artist just coincidentally on Twitter, and they were like, "Oh yeah, that's what they used that art for," because they had no clue it was going to come up. So when I posted a picture of it, they're like, "Oh, that's so cool to see it," because obviously company like Catalyst, they just have so much art coming in. They just use it for whatever, right? It'll be in a source book, or it'll be a cover, or it'll be, you never know what they're used for. So,
so we can recap a little bit. You want to start with Catalyst since they're the front runners of mechs?
You want to just do mech stuff, or you want to do our experience at Gen Con? It actually went smoothly this year. There was
you can do a general Gen Con overview and then kind of speaks directly to the Mecha stuff, if you'd like.
This year everything went smooth, so there's not really much more to talk about. There was no excitement in our. We set up the booth and we got to work. There was nothing really crazy this year. So.
You mean no one pulled a fire alarm or?
Well, actually,
no fire alarms.
There was at the they every year they have a big exhibitor kind of party. We never go to it because we're usually too busy or too tired. But I guess everybody was partying it up, and someone did pull a fire alarm. So.
Oh, that's right.
So I missed that, but yeah, we had a fun time. That was shout out to Martin from England. He was my co-pilot. We were hanging out, so it was fun. But,
yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, it was a good Gen Con in general, but,
it was good. I mean, but I didn't get to see the Mad Mob, Catalyst to see, because there was, when we went to the Catalyst booth to get our Alpha Strikes, they were just in a pile, right? In the middle of the thing.
They were piled up in a tower in the middle of their booth. That was, I'd say, probably 10 foot wide and maybe 5 foot tall. Full of just Alpha Strikes. So that's what went in 2 hours. They had hundreds of them. And it was it was impressive that I never really got to shop around their booth and everything else that was new was sold out before I ever got back. I just grabbed Alpha Strike and left we were just in a hurry because it was just about to open.
Yeah.
And ran.
We went back another time. What did we pick up?
I don't think it picked up anything.
Was the aerospace stuff, or
no?
That was from a different booth.
That was Ironwind Metals. Yeah, they were nearby, but that was separate. No, I think we were just walking around and checked it out. But
no, because we talked to the one guy who was in charge of books.
Yeah, we talked to in charge of the novels because we were talking how we interviewed Brian Young on the podcast, and he's like, "Oh yeah," and he's such a nice guy. He's like, he was doing signings, but once again, we were stuck in the booth. We couldn't even meet him. So. So it's that kind of thing that we miss out on a lot of the that way interactions. We get, you get to know the people who run the booths, or you get to talk to people in between or while you're setting up and stuff, but you never really get the experience of Gen Con. We never got to do any playing games. Once again, they had the huge tournaments of Battletech and I assume other games, but we never saw any of that. So it was just happened to be near where Mantic was setting up that we saw that the big standee and all that stuff. But that was before anything was there. So
yeah.
But yeah, Catalyst definitely was the biggest presence for mech stuff. That's for sure.
Yeah, I don't know if there was any other mechs. I mean, Gigarobo had their own little booth in the corner near the Entrepreneurs Alley.
And
was Cav there?
No, they don't go to it. No,
they don't go to it because it's too expensive for them.
Yeah,
and
stick to their smaller one.
Plus, CavCon is a month after Gen Con, so I think that's a better exposure.
It's on Labor Day, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's a better exposure for them, anyways.
Yeah, and they went to Little Wars, I think, and they went to Adepticon too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other than that, they had the Strange Machine Games was there doing their games. Their Robotech games, and they were there. But other than that, it wasn't. It's funny that we always say it's a big time for mechs, but it's a big time for Battletech, really.
It's true.
I can't think of any other mech-related stuff that was actually there. Usually, we're near the Japanime booth. They're a big company that import stuff.
Japanimation.
Yeah, they usually have a huge booth full of all different stuff they import from Japan, but we weren't even near them this year, so we didn't really even get to see them. That's where we got to see in the years past. That's where we got to see the Attack on SDF-1 game that I got.
Gotcha.
Yeah, they had things like that there, but yeah, we didn't see too much other stuff. Like I say, it's huge too. If you haven't been to Gen Con, the actual dealer hall, I would say, is 7 football fields wide, maybe longer. It's huge.
Yeah, you need to have a plan when you go in there.
Yeah, we just kind of wandered, but we always wandered the same direction.
Because if you do wander, yeah, it's easier to wander in the before the crowds get in. But once the crowd gets in, wandering becomes
and you're stuck in the booth.
You're in the flow.
We were in the booth demoing and selling the whole time. We had no time to do anything else really. I left the booth to go to the washroom. Other people would bring us food. That would be about it. We never left from when it opened at 10, we left it, and it closed at like 6 or 5. I can't remember which closed.
6.
Yeah, so we were just there for that whole time. And then afterwards, we just kind of stumbled back to the hotel rooms, get more food, and go to sleep. But it was, at least this year, unlike last year, where it was much more subdued, it seemed to be back in the flow. There was tons of people having fun, tons of people at all the restaurants. Like, it was good times for that, so.
Yeah, I mean, we got to see some cool things. We went and looked at some Kickstarter stuff, and then surprisingly got the Interceptor like we talked about earlier. And I went and looked at my other Kickstarter, that Stellaris game that I kickstarted.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
It's the 4X game that they... Yeah, it's this 4X game that they turned into a board game.
Yeah.
That looks quite intimidating. There's a lot of parts to that son of a gun.
Yeah, it took up a huge table. Like, it was crazy. We stopped by Renegade Studios for the G.I. Joe card game and Transformers card game.
Oh, that's right. Yep. I picked up the Transformers one.
Yeah, I picked up the expansion for G.I. Joe.
Because I wanted to have a Devastator.
I don't know if this counts. I guess Aliens does have a power loader in it, so it counts. I went to Free League, and
it counts.
They were real nice. They gave me a copy of the Alien RPG because I was going to buy it, and they're like, "Yeah, just take it. You're from Mantic. We like you."
Yeah.
We're like, what?
Exactly. Yeah. So shout out to those guys because
that was super nice.
It's not every time we don't go to these things expecting to get stuff, but it's always nice when another company's a fan of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, so that was fun. It was every year we kind of hang with those guys. Free League is from Sweden, I think, and but they're the Americans in the booth there, but they were cool. But yeah, other than that, I think Gen Con's just too big. Like, I think that's to start going into what we'd want to see at a convention. I think Gen Con is too diverse for just to see mech stuff. I think if there was just a convention that had kind of more focused into the maybe anime.
Like a CavCon.
Like CavCon, but not even just that focused. That's too focused almost, but almost smaller, like Adepticon size, but for just mech stuff would be kind of cool. Like, you get all the Robotech stuff, you get all the Cav stuff, you get Battletech, like, you can have all the Gunpla stuff,
Maybe we should have a Mobile Armor Radio Con.
Yeah, that's right. No, I would never want to run a convention. It's so bad.
It's a lot of work.
I have friends that have done it, and it is a lot of work.
But, yeah.
But not in a bad way. Just a lot of work.
It's rewarding, I'm sure, but it's just a lot of work. Like, the reason we do this podcast is because we wanted a podcast about all different types of mech-related stuff, because we love it all. And I'd like to see that in a convention. Like, I wouldn't want to do it, but I'd like to see it,
Yeah, I would go to a mech convention. So anyone listening that wants to start a mech that's different, I'd go to an all-mech convention.
Yeah, because they do, like, TFCon is all over the place. And so for Transformers, they have those conventions. BotCon, I don't think BotCon's around anymore, but they used to do that. But, like, there's specific conventions for that kind of stuff. And then you have things like CavCon, or Maze Catalyst doesn't do their own thing. I know Chaosium, which is nothing to do with mechs, but they're doing their own convention too now. So I wonder if eventually we'll get a Catalyst convention but it'll probably be in Seattle. I think, aren't they based in Seattle, Catalyst?
That's a good question.
If Shadowrun is to be believed, probably.
I think that Shadowrun was FASA, FASA was based in Chicago, so it makes no sense. Because the funny thing about FASA is they're based in Chicago, and they immediately destroyed Chicago in Shadowrun. Like,
they only destroyed it to get rid of the bugs.
Well, at their own place. That was the center of the bug contamination was FASA headquarters, which is hilarious. But
yeah, their headquarters is located in Lake Stevens, Washington.
Gotcha.
Yeah, is that Catalyst? Yeah. So I thought if they do anything, it'd be way out, and I don't think any of us could travel that far. That's pretty far.
Well, Seattle or just Washington State is not an easy. There's not a lot of connecting flights.
Yeah, it's not a destination.
And Lake Stevens, it is a destination, but the thing is, there's just not a lot of. It's not a hub.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You live in Chicago though, the ultimate hub, so it's like
right.
Everything's nothing compared to yours.
So this place is way up there in the mountains.
Well, that's kind of cool.
A secret fortress.
Even Ironwind Metals is in. I think they're in Indiana or Ohio or somewhere over there, and you can go to visit them. But yeah. All those companies, you get them in one big convention, you're just playing all different stuff. everybody interacting together. There might be rumbles, though. You get the people who are very loyal to certain things. The Macross guys who start fighting the Robotech guys, and then...
Oh, yeah. See, we don't need that. Let's just all come together.
Can't we all just love everything? But yeah. Yeah.
And then just to touch on, so I know you guys are mostly at the booths and everything, but like from your experience with the tournaments at an event, like a gaming convention, what kind of tournaments or even just free play do you guys like to see for a mecha related setting?
Well, that's a good question because Cav would be a good one because it could play fairly quickly. You'd have to go low points. Battletech, you'd definitely have to do an Alpha Strike tournament. You couldn't do a...
Well, they do at Gen Con. They do regular Battletech tournaments, but I can't imagine how long it lasts.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't go more than the Lance for sure.
Yeah, I assume it's Lance on Lance at those tournaments. They have a lot of tournaments.
I mean, you could have an old school thing, but that would be
or a mass battle game.
That would be all you did for that weekend.
Yeah,
right.
That is always a problem with Battletech. It's by itself. It is a weekend game. It's not a quick game, but they must do it somehow.
But you could do the Alpha Strike, and then you still have some time.
Wow, but there's a lot of people who don't like Alpha Strike. They find it cheapens the experience. Where I
agree.
I don't have time for full on Battletech.
I disagree and agree on both ends. I see both sides of the argument, but I'm pro Alpha Strike in a tournament setting. But if you were looking to do an event, say like a scenario event, then break out the old school rules, play it out.
Yeah, I personally don't like tournaments. Like, I don't like playing competitively like that. I'd much rather do a narrative campaign or something. Like, almost
in my older age, I don't play much tournaments either. But I still know what would be a better tournament from my experiences.
Me personally, I wouldn't want tournaments, but I know it's very popular. But that's I'd rather play friendly games or play a bunch of different games. That's once again, like you said, free play that would be the way to go. Where just have a bunch of tables set up with all different games, and you just can go sit and play, learn how to play all different types of all the different mech games. That'd be kind of fun.
Yeah, and that would be great. Like you sit down, you have a Cav free play, a Battletech free play, an Interceptor free play, a Giga Robo free play.
Those board games. There's tons of
Ignition Core. Get Ignition Core and whatever that abomination game that
the Chibi
Brian likes to play.
There's tons of miniature games, but
the Devil's Children's game, whatever that one's called.
But there's tons of card games like for Robotech, and now that the Attack on SD1 and Reconstruction and Redline, and like there's so many like board games now too, like not just miniature games. There's tons of variety in the world there. And that maybe Catalyst can bring back the Battletech pods. They weren't there this year, and they haven't been there for a while. I wonder if they finally died. Those pods.
I think they finally died because they
were held together by like nothing.
So old. I remember those things in the early 90s.
Oh yeah, they were.
I remember seeing a set at what the heck is the one in Ohio? It's escaping me.
Origins.
Origins. I saw them there. When I went a couple of years back, and I didn't get a chance to play in them. But
I think they finally either it just got too much trouble to bring them out, or they finally died. One of the two, because
I would go they finally died. Plus, I mean, the graphics in those, if you never played in them, those things were MechWarrior 2, MechWarrior 3 looking graphics.
Yeah,
vector graphics almost.
Yeah,
I wouldn't even call it 3. I bet it's based on 2.
Probably.
It might have been 4, honestly. I'm thinking back. It might have been 4.
You think it was that good? I don't know. But,
I mean, if you look at MechWarrior 4, it's really not that good.
Compared to 2, it is. But, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, now that I think about it, it's definitely 4, because 2 was like the Commodore 64.
Yeah, it was vector graphics, yeah. But you could do it in VR now. You probably could do the exact same thing with VR glasses, Like, without the whole pod. Like, you just have a chair and VR glasses. It'd be the exact same experience. Better, frankly. I think people are porting MechWarrior 5 into VR, which,
I don't know. It would be nice to have the pods. You could pump heat in there.
Well, you could still do that, but
unless you're clan, then you just pump air conditioning in there.
But, yeah, you could still do all that stuff, but the technology you would need all the screens and everything. You just do it all virtual.
Oh, yeah.
Controls, maybe, but yeah. Anyways, that was off topic, but interactive, yeah. Interactive part of the convention, for sure. Like, computer games are so much part of it now. It'd be cool to have an arcade almost with all the different mech video games also. They do usually...
if we're talking about a MechCon, then, having arcade games would be awesome.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, even at Gen Con, they used to have that arcade in there. I'm not sure if it was there this year, because it seemed like all those rooms where the arcade were filled with, like, other
they moved the arcade down that hall. Remember we saw the arcade games when...
I don't know if I was with you at that point.
Yeah, we were going to get my car to go home.
There was that little bit of arcade, but they had like a huge
Was Rob
room.
checked out by then?
Yeah, it was, but they had like arcade games. But I'm saying that whole room with like LAN setup, the company Mantic's boss's son was in last year or the year before.
Oh, he was in there. He was in there again this year.
Was he? It must have been somewhere else. That's all. But yeah,
because he came back and bragged. Yeah, I only paid for an hour and I stayed for 4.
Wow.
Like father, like son. But
yeah,
yeah, that's the thing. Gen Con, I think even Adepticon's better for mech stuff, just because you can see it all. Like you can.
Mm-hmm.
It gets us lost everything gets lost in the chaos that is Gen Con.
I mean, Gen Con definitely is probably not the best venue because of the variety of Gen Con.
And you have to go big like Catalyst. Like, the only reason we knew Catalyst was there, they went so big that you had to know they were there. Like, that's the only way to do it.
Yeah.
Like, it is...
Plus, I mean, since its inception, it's always been primarily a role-playing convention / board game.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's definitely based on D&D or Pathfinder.
Gotcha.
But Adepticon would probably be because it's more miniature-based, and that's what mech are, miniatures, basically.
But somewhere in between, too, yeah. I don't know. I've never been to Origins. Maybe Origins is a little more reasonable, but I don't know. But other than that, it was if you have never been to Gen Con, it's an experience. It's expensive. It's, just to be there. The hotel rooms, the food, everything is crazy expensive. They pump it up for all that. Like, the only reason Indianapolis... What's that?
Gen Con. So even if I was not going on as an exhibitor, I would still probably go to Gen Con just because I enjoy it.
It is, yeah. You also live pretty close, so it's not too bad. You're only like 3 hours away, so.
Yeah.
So you could go for a day even and go home, but yeah. So Indianapolis only exists to have conventions, so they know that they can just put prices crazy in downtown. So everything's really expensive downtown. So. Like, even Chicago's cheaper than Indianapolis, which doesn't make sense, but it is. But, yeah. If you've never been to Gen Con, it is an experience. You should go at least once. That's my theory. But
yeah. For sure.
Yeah. And experience it. Experience the craziness. Let it envelop you.
And if you are, again, trying to stay on top of it, but if you are a mech fan, it's also the place where people are releasing...
New stuff
at that time too. So,
and
if you're looking to get,
I don't know how many different, like, their catalog of games to play. Like, there's so much stuff. I'm sure there was all the games we're talking about were played there. We just never saw it. Right? It's just so big. And I never went into the exhibit hall except for when it was setting up. I never went in there, so I have no idea what was in there after that. So.
Oh, you mean the event hall?
Event hall. That's what I meant. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, I didn't get to normally I try to go to the event hall just to see how everything's going, and I never made it out there either.
Yeah, it was.
We were kind of short on manpower though, so I couldn't bail out of the booth.
Well, you also had to. Pat had to do a. He was a star of a panel too. So.
Oh, nice.
I wouldn't. Yeah. You want to tell them about your panel? It was exciting.
Yeah, it was a Dark Horse panel we did. It was basically comics crowdfunding. It said comics and crowdfunding from the books to the table.
Okay.
So it was crowdfunding different comics, and also for the games, because Mantic does do Hellboy miniature game and upcoming Umbrella Academy, so both from the Dark Horse. So
it had a good set of panels, and I forget everyone's name. There was a girl from Renegade, there was Jim Zub, and another comic book artist whose name I forgot.
I think the panel is online, so if anybody wants to check it out, look up. You can watch the panel. I think.
So nice. You can see Pat live.
Yes.
See Pat lie. Oh.
And then there was a couple of Twitch streamer girls, or there's one Twitch streamer girl, and then there was another. I guess he was an actor. But I got to chat with Jim Zub, and he's going to be doing the new Conan now. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, Conan's gone to Titan Comics, I believe, is where it's gone. So.
Yeah.
That's interesting, but no mechs in Conan last time I checked.
No, but it was a good thing.
Yet.
Yeah, I wish Dark Horse made a mech property so you could make a mech game out of it.
It would be awesome.
That'd be sweet.
Dark Horse, make a mech game, or a mech comic book. Everybody else is. They probably do. They've done so many comic books. I'm sure there is a mech one in there somewhere, but...
I mean, their catalog is so huge. I'm sure.
Yep. Good stuff. But I don't know. Is there anything else to talk about Gen Con? I think we've covered most of it. And what we want in a convention. Brian, how about you? What would you want in a convention? You never really said.
Well, I think the big thing, you guys had kind of touched on it, where it's the ability to try out the games. Mm-hmm. I think being able to see people playing at I don't play competitively very often myself. If I do, it's kind of just to support the event.
Yeah.
I do love seeing the models painted up in for those kind of events. Seeing the creative ways that people have put them together and stuff, and I think tournaments draw that kind of crowd in a big way. So like seeing events like that would be pretty sweet. I do like the idea of, especially for mech related, if we had those arcade pods, because that is an experience you don't get anywhere else. Whether it's the old Mech Warrior ones, or I know they have a lot of Gundam themed ones.
Oh yeah.
I know I've seen some at anime conventions. I haven't got a chance to play them yet, but those kind of things I think would be really a nice blend there. And but yeah, the new releases obviously is a huge draw, and hopefully there's not too much bad blood between different Mecha franchises. You'd hope everyone is kind of there knowing that
I was being
we're all here for the big thing.
I'm pretty sure most people like everything. Like, it's once you fall in love with giant mechs, it doesn't matter what form they come in. I think everybody loves there might be some diehard Battletech guys or something like that, but generally, if you're a Mecha fan, you like it all. So
I only do chibi tech.
You're Pat's arch enemy.
Yeah.
You know what pushed me over the edge? If someone did chibi clans.
That'd be funny.
That would drive me to.
There'd be fisticuffs.
There'd be some kind of news story on about some guy losing it.
But I think too, like, also like getting the chance to meet like authors and comic artists, creators of these franchises would be really awesome. Like could you imagine going to a convention and like maybe one of the keynote panels is Guillermo del Toro talking about Pacific Rim? Like, that would be pretty sweet. I forgot to mention Artist Alley. We always had Artist Alley is usually between us and the washroom, so we always go through it. But one guy in Artist Alley did amazing like painting of Jetfire from Transformers. It was like I would have bought it. They had prints. I would have bought one for sure if I thought I could have got it home without destroying it. But
that's right, because I sent you over there. I brought you over there because I thought it was the Robotech one, but it turned out to be Jetfire.
Yeah, which is my favorite Transformer. But he there's that kind of stuff. Like, there's tons of authors, too. Like, once again, we never get to see all these people, but there's tons of those kind of people in the Artist Alley. So it'd be cool, like you say, for just, like, mech-related kind of people. That'd be amazing. Especially if you can get some of the international people. Like, you get some of the Japanese creators. That'd be pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
For sure.
It'd be so hard.
Weta Workshop.
Yeah, Weta, yeah.
Making custom giant robots.
Yeah, and Weta did not have GKR there this year.
Was Weta even there this year? I didn't even see them.
No, I mean, normally I think who were they working with in Cryptozoic?
Were they?
They used to share a booth with Cryptozoic, but this year they didn't come. I wonder if they moved on from GKR.
Well, I think, that was just a pet project, I think, for one of their designers. They seem to, like, I know this other guy was just making, like, a whole Hobbit village that they're selling STLs for, and, like, I think they kind of support their artists to expand out, like, do what they want to do, and then they kind of support them monetarily to put that out there. And I think JKR was just somebody's had some fun with keep bashing some robots, and yeah, they put out a couple expansions, I think. But it's I don't think it was ever meant to be an ongoing game. I think
a long term.
Yeah, put it out there, and Weta has to travel from New Zealand. That's quite a trip. So even with all the restrictions kind of lifting, I bet New Zealand still has some tough restrictions. So I bet it's a pain in the ass for them to come.
Yeah,
we'll see next year if they have something else going on. But yeah.
Oh, cool. Well, thanks for giving the recap on Gen Con and as well as talking about what makes for an exciting Mecha convention.
And if there's a billionaire out there who wants to put money into it, we'll be forced to. We'll do it for you if we're forced to make a MAR con.
It's true. If someone wants to put the money into it, yeah. I would try to run it.
Oh yeah, we could do it if we had to. But I think monetarily, I think conventions are unless it is Gen Con or one of these big ones. I don't think conventions can be monetarily advantageous. Let's just say it's so hard.
It takes a while to hit critical mass where you're in a profit.
Yeah. Because it's just so hard, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, cool. So I think with that, I'll wrap up the episode here and head on out.
Let's ExFil out of here.
All right, and welcome to the ExFil. This is basically just our little outro for the show. So thank you all for checking it out, and hope you had positive convention experiences yourselves. If you went to Gen Con, feel free to post the message in our Facebook group or in our Discord.
Yeah, let us know if we missed something.
Yeah,
for sure.
Or if you forgot to say hi to these guys, or if there's something that you would love to see, you're always like on the lookout for at a convention, or things that you would like to see and are curious what conventions might have it. Those kind of questions are always welcome.
Yeah, if there's something we forgot or didn't think of, it'd be interesting to hear. Or
These two have been to a lot of conventions.
If you're thinking of making a convention, let us know, and we'll plug it on the show.
Yeah, for sure. But I think with that, we're going to put a pin in this. So with that, I've been Brian.
And I've been Chopper.
And as always, the shortest outros ever, I'm Rob.
Have a good night, everybody.
Thanks for listening.
Bye-bye.
This has been Mobile Armor Radio. Join our Facebook group by searching for Mobile Armor Radio. Find us on Twitter @MArmorRadio. Find us on iTunes and visit our website, mobilearmorradio.podbean.com. Join us on the first of every month for more Mecha discussion.